My husband just got his marriage license with his first love. The day my pregnancy test came back positive, Lana posted that same license on Instagram. Caption: Riverdale's most eligible commitment phobe broke all his rules for me. Guess I'm the luckiest woman alive. Julian's name in red ink stabbed straight through my eyes. I gave it a quiet double tap. The other woman panicked and deleted the post, but Julian rang me up yelling, Lana only wanted the paper. You're still my wife, so stop making a mountain out of a molehill, okay? I laughed without answering, then booked the termination and walked out of the Frost estate for good. Before we go on, make sure you subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from. I pressed a hand to my flat stomach, heat rushing to my eyes, tears sliding free. I knew the baby was only 4 weeks along, smaller than a bean sprout, but the ache still swallowed me whole. Julian's birthday was 7 days away. I'd planned to surprise him, to watch his face light up when I said, "You're going to be a dad." Now that dream was trash. I remembered the last 2 years, Frost telling me, Julian's a commitment phobe, but once you give him a child he'll never let his own blood be born outside the family name, he'll marry you. So I gritted my teeth through 2 years of fertility shots, clinging to him every cycle, begging for a baby. And today it was all for nothing. He signed a license with Lana, turning our child into a shameful little bastard no one would claim. At 9 that night Julian came home early for once. He pulled a bracelet from his pocket and fastened it around my wrist himself. Bought it just for you, do you like it? The green 4-leaf clover glittered. I opened my mouth, then swallowed every honest word. LVMH's new $500,000 ruby necklace had hit stores 2 days ago. The trinket on my wrist was the $1,000 promo gift. Come on, don't overthink. For the first time ever, Julian pulled me into his arms. Nuzzling my neck, voice soft, Lana went to a friend's wedding this afternoon and got emotional. Decided life's incomplete without a license, so she asked me to fix that little regret. It's only a slip of paper, no big deal. I helped her out, but I swear we're spotless. You're still the only woman I acknowledge as Frost. Julian was born cold. This was the longest speech he'd ever given me. And every syllable defended someone else. I wriggled free and headed for the bedroom. My indifference pissed him off. He raised his voice, sharp and hard, Joey, I told you the truth because I respect you. Your jealous tantrum is pathetic. I already bought you a gift as an apology. Keep pushing and I'll skip our bedroom appointments for the rest of the month. No baby making for you. With that, he slammed the study door so hard the walls shook. Right then, I admitted that 3 years of groveling had bought me the cheapest love story on earth. I lay awake all night, then decided to gamble one last time. I would tell him I was pregnant. I searched the mansion, he was gone. So I opened Snapchat and tapped to Lana's story. At 7 a.m. she'd posted, cried that I wanted Xiaolong Bao, so you showed up at 4, started cooking at 5, from scrubbing crabs to kneading dough, every single step. I won't say who, but someone's getting all the feels. The last ember of hope went cold. I hailed a cab to the clinic. In 30 minutes, I erased the baby I'd spent 2 years trying to create. Afterward, I stopped by the bridal boutique to cancel my gown order. Inside, Julian was adjusting the plunging neckline on Lana's dress. Are you tailing me? He snapped, brows knit, annoyance crackling off him. Lana slapped his hand away from her chest with playful wrath and glared. Don't talk to your wife like that. You're only the NPC in my bridal shoot. Joey's not petty enough to stalk us over a few pictures. I gave a careless nod. You're his legal wife, whatever you say goes. I turned to leave. July. Ian caught my wrist. Stop with the sarcasm. How many times do I have to say Lana and I are completely innocent? Knowing those fingers had just rested on her breasts made my stomach flip. I yanked free, slapping wildly. In the struggle, Julian suddenly let go. I staggered back, my abdomen slammed into a table. Pain knifed through me, cold sweat blooming across my skin. Lana delivered a fake scolding, then crouched as if to help. Before she touched me, she flopped onto the carpet. Ah, Joey, I tried to help and you shoved me? Julian scooped up the weeping Lana, eyes slicing toward me like glass shards. If her hand is ruined, I swear you'll pay. With that, he strode out with her in his arms. But the cut on her palm had come from the diamond on her own dress. I'd watched her do it. Right then, I'd never been gladder I'd already let the baby go. A man who hands all his favor and panic to another woman would have been a rotten father. That night, a fresh photo popped up in the guys' group chat. I tapped it open, Julian pinning Lana close while Logan dabbed antiseptic on her cut palm. I knew the doctor, Logan, Julian's close friend. The chat ignited. Reunited with your first love, nice flex, bro, thought that license was photoshopped. Congrats, man, may the babies come quick. So the whole commitment phobe thing was just waiting for her? Legendary devotion. You earned that ring. Logan followed up, told you Frost and Lana are endgame. Years late, but here they are. Other chicks need to quit sniffing around. Someone joked, Joey's hot enough, keep her as a side dish, why waste prime steak? Another laughed, once Frost gets bored, toss her my way. I already keep 3, what's a 4th? I'd infiltrated this chat disguised as a rich frat boy. Nobody knew the target of their filth was listening. Through the screen, I finally saw Julian's real thoughts. He pretended to scold, yeah, Joey doesn't measure up to Lana, but she's still my woman, watch your mouths. Logan changed the sub. Ject, license secured, now knock the princess up fast, lock her down with a kid. Julian answered, don't rush me. A few minutes later, male pride won. He posted a king-size bed draped in crimson linen and scattered with the fertility bed spread dates longan. Caption, tonight. The chat exploded, every playboy offering proven positions for a one-shot bullseye. I closed my eyes so I wouldn't have to read the sewage. An hour later, Julian dropped a single word, score. My heart turned to ash. I uploaded the photo of my positive pregnancy test and the termination paperwork to my own Instagram, set to public, and walked away. Caption, no fate, then goodbye. The first double tap came from Lana's burner account. Immediately after, she posted a new bio, people ought to know their place. Like a rooster crowing victory, she couldn't wait to announce she'd won. Before long, my phone rang. I saw Julian's name and hung up without hesitation. I thought he'd keep calling, keep pestering. But I waited more than half an hour, nothing. I tugged the corner of my mouth in self-mockery. What were you expecting, Joey? Tonight is the wedding night he's fantasized about for years with his first love. Did you really think he'd abandon the woman he wants and come running back to you? Putting away my last shred of hope, I began to pack. I tossed the matching mugs, snipped the tie I'd given him into ribbons, locked every piece of jewelry I hadn't bought myself into the safe. In the end, everything I owned fit into less than 2 suitcases. Dawn was just breaking when I stood by the gate waiting for my ride. Instead, I got an unexpected visitor. Julian climbed out of his Maybach, face stormy, and kicked over the suitcase beside me. Have you lost your mind, Joey? That was my child, who gave you the right to terminate it. If you were pregnant, why didn't you tell me? It was part of me too. His sudden burst of morality made me laugh. I righted the suitcase and tried to leave, but he grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to face him. A marriage certificate is just a piece of paper. I told you you'd still be Frost, houses, cars, money, as much as you want. Why do you have to be so stubborn? Smack. I slapped him so hard his head snapped sideways. And you're still lying to me now? What, were you going to wait until Lana's baby is born before you admit you've been sleeping with her? Julian's pupils quivered, he muttered instinctively, I didn't. I looked at him with pure contempt. Typical, does the deed, lacks the spine to own it. I wheeled my suitcase and walked away. This time, Julian didn't stop me. He only shouted after me, shame twisted into rage, walk away from me and you'll never be a rich wife again in this lifetime. As if I cared. I'm no gold digger. I'm an orphan, there's no family home to go back to. Luckily my best friend Leah took me in. When she learned Julian had used his commitment-phobe excuse on me but had raced to register a marriage just to fulfill Lana's whim, she cursed every ancestor of his back 18 generations. She jabbed a finger at my forehead. I warned you, no man is truly a commitment phobe. If he says it, it means someone else already owns his heart, but he still wants the convenience you give him. He wants it all. You, girl, loved that scumbag too much, he had your body and your heart. Her words hit my raw nerve, I collapsed into her arms and bawled. Yes, I'd chased Julian like a lovesick puppy for 3 years, met the parents for 2. I thought if I just stayed by his side, one day he'd see my worth, clear a room in his heart, and let me move in. I'd clearly underestimated the staying power of a man's first love. One sentence from Lana wiped out 5 years of my effort. Leah hugged me, heartbroken, and soothed, we women have to know when to hold on and when to let go. Don't wreck your life over a man. Look on the bright side, you never signed that certificate. One less scumbag ex, and you skip the divorce paperwork. I sniffled. Guess that makes sense. Worried about my health, Leah forced me to stay at her place for the lying-in month. Only after I'd fully recovered did she let me move out. But the day I checked into a hotel, Julian knocked on my door. Finished throwing your tantrum? Then come home. I ignored him and started to shut the door. He wedged an arm in. When his frantic eyes met my icy stare, he froze. Neither of us spoke. After so long I thought his gaze would drill a hole through me. Julian finally said, "I'm sorry about the baby. Lana meant no harm, marrying me was just an impulsive whim. If you don't believe me, I can have her explain to you herself." I agreed, out of curiosity, not love. I wanted to see how he'd twist the facts. After all, every year on my birthday Lana would develop a sudden stomach or headache and whisk Julian away. Anniversaries, Valentine's, Chishi, any day that mattered, she only had to crook a finger and Julian would trot after her like an eager puppy. Ironically, the single most romantic, uninterrupted day of our 5 years together was our engagement. In the back garden of Frost Manor, Julian had planted beds of blue roses with his own hands. The day they bloomed, he set a diamond tiara on my head and led me to his parents. He knelt, slipped the ring on my finger, pressed a devout kiss to the back of my hand. That day his eyes shone brighter than the sun. A moment I clung to for years. On the agreed date, I rode to Swan. The villa had been Julian's birthday gift to Lana. "Lana's a woman, owning assets gives her confidence when she steps out," he'd said. He'd never given me anything pricey, claiming love can't be measured in money. I walked into the living room, Lana lounged on the sofa. Around her neck hung that $5 million ruby necklace. Julian gestured for me to sit and poured me tea. I'd barely lifted the cup when a thick photo album landed in front of me. Lana beamed. "So many friends heard I'd gotten married, they laughed and said I was faking it. I had no choice, I dragged Julian on a honeymoon to make it look real. Gotta play the part, right? You understand, Joey." I flipped through the pages, from Sonia to the Maldives, then straight to Antarctica to see the penguins. The man who hates traveling had accompanied Lana on a world tour. While I sat through my lying-in month at Leah's, he hadn't sent a single message. Even though I was already dead to him, the sight still cut. I closed the album and said coolly, "Didn't you invite me here to explain the marriage certificate? Why waste time on this irrelevant slideshow?" Lana's smile stiffened. Under Julian's prodding gaze, she tugged the corners of her mouth and mumbled unwillingly, "Julian's right, he was only indulging my momentary rashness." Julian nodded eagerly. "Once her friends lose interest, we'll file for divorce." Then he grabbed my hand, "As compensation to you and the child, if you still want that certificate then, I'm willing." "Sorry," I cut in, "you're out of chances." The words had barely landed when a tall, strikingly handsome man walked in. "Long time no see. Mason, sole heir of the Moore family. Also Julian's sworn enemy and the white moonlight Lana had chased for 8 fruitless years. Brother Mason, what brings you here?" Lana's eyes lit up. She flashed a huge smile, trotted over, and pressed herself to his side. "I thought you were starting a new company overseas and never coming back." Mason angled 2 steps toward me, voice flat. "Don't call me brother. My parents only had 1 kid. Keep inventing relatives and also that rumor-mongering mouth shut, then mail you the lawyer's bill. Who talks to people like that?" Back then Julian had only lost Lana in the first place because of Mason. Now that the first love was finally his, the mere sight of the rival made Lana dump him on the spot and scamper off to Fawn. It set Julian's teeth on edge. But how could Lana let anyone give her white moonlight attitude? She immediately whipped around and glared at Julian. "He's a guest, go pour tea. Brother Mason, Mason likes dragon well. You." Julian's brows twitched with rage, words grinding through clenched teeth. "Lana, I am not your damn waiter, and this isn't a hotel." Ignoring his fury, Lana wedged herself between Mason and me. "Mason, how long are you staying? Are you free tonight? I'll cook." Mason skirted the chattering woman and stopped in front of me. He curled his fingers through mine, locking our palms together. "Already have a wife, everyone else, back off." Lana's eyes bulged. Julian froze, then stared at our joined hands and let out a cutting laugh. "Joey, if you're pissed I married Lana, don't grab the nearest guy and embarrass yourself with such a lame lie. Whatever. Since you're crazy in love with me, I'll give you one more chance. Come here and I'll forgive this tantrum." Even though I was long past loving him, seeing that unshakable arrogance, that regal tone of charity, still left a bitter ache in my chest. I drew a breath, ready to curse. Mason beat me to it. "Who the hell are you to order Joey around? Dressed like a gentleman but talking like trash. No mirror? Then take a piss and check your reflection. Diluted and greasy, disgusting." Julian had never been spoken to like that. He swung a fist. "I'm talking to my woman, who asked you to butt in." Mason let go of my hand. The 2 men crashed together. "Deaf? Joey and I have a marriage certificate, you're not even an ex-husband." Moments later Julian's face was purple and swollen. Mason didn't escape unbeaten, blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Panicked, Lana flung herself at Julian's waist. Julian, are you insane? If Mason gets hurt, I'll divorce you and make you pay. Julian's eyes nearly split. He roared, flinging her off. You love him, then what were the last few years for? Mason straightened, unhesitating. Bad luck. Julian exploded. He flipped the table, shattered the vase, smashed everything in the living room. Eyes crimson, he bellowed for everyone to get out. Lana tried to ride with us. Mason locked the doors without mercy. As we sped away, the rearview mirror showed her glare trying to burn a hole through me. Sorry. I didn't expect Julian to swing. While we waited at a red light, I pulled the first aid kit from the car and dabbed Mason's split lip. Tiny scrape, don't stress. I should have guessed he'd go nuts, I muttered. Maybe I never should have agreed to a paper marriage. Mason's expression turned serious, almost anxious. Don't overthink it. I pitched the deal, I can cover this kind of cost. He produced a chocolate from somewhere and pressed it into my hand. Smile. At least today wasn't wasted, we just drove a wedge between Julian and Lana. He paused, studying me with faint worry. Only problem. I'm not sure Julian will believe we're really married. If we're going to sell it, you'll have to move in with me for a while. His logic was sound, I didn't refuse. After nearly 2 months, I was back inside a luxury mansion. Lying on the huge bed, I still felt dazed. Half a month earlier I'd been job hunting, determined to relaunch my design career. I'd sent a resume to Moore. I never expected Mason to fly back personally and sit in as interviewer. The instant he heard me say single, his eyes sparked. 2 days later he asked me to coffee. He'd looked somber. Here's your offer letter. Start whenever you're fully recovered. Clearly he'd dug up every detail of my split with Julian. Surprised, I couldn't help asking. Aren't you afraid this is some ruse cooked up with Julian, me planted in your company to steal trade secrets? Mason smiled. Dark eyes like stars, impossible to look away. He said, Joey, you could never be that person. My heart pounded. Julian had once warned me, Mason's a player who spins women like tops. Keep your distance or you'll end up counting cash for him. But after spending real time together, I realized how wrong that was. Mason was charming, fun, New York, and sincere, no womanizer at all. So the night I quietly cried over Julian again, he offered to make the man regret ever hurting me. That was how I finally got the marriage certificate I'd once dreamed of, only the groom wasn't Julian, but his rival. My end of the bargain, help Mason land next year's entire W-line design contract. Once I moved in, we shared meals, a roof, a ride to the office. A few days later I was shopping alone when 2 bodyguards boxed me in. Shoved into the car, I found Julian glowering. I lifted a brow. Problem? Can't I see you without one? I rolled my eyes. You're married now. Keep your distance from other women. Joey, I told you that was just a favor. The one I love, stop pretending. I cut him off. I scrolled through the guy's group chat, pulled up the photos from his wedding night with Lana, and shoved the screen in his face. You looked pretty happy while you were sealing the deal, didn't you? Julian's Adam's apple bobbed, panic flooding his eyes as he tried to speak. Save it. Can't forget your first love Moonlight, right? I'm thrilled you finally made it legal, congrats. Relax, my baby's gone. No heir will ever dilute your fortune. My acid sarcasm stung. He grabbed my hand, voice urgent. Joey, I swear, you're the one I wanted for life. If you'd told me about the baby sooner, I'd never have agreed to Lana's plea. Fine, I'll divorce her right now, and then I peeled his fingers off, one by one, voice ice cold. Pointless. Mason and I already signed the marriage certificate. You had me followed for 2 weeks, haven't you accepted reality? Why keep lying to yourself? Pain darkened Julian's eyes, he clutched the hem of my coat. Joey, he must have tricked you. I'll get a lawyer, sue for annul, don't you dare. I shook my head. Mason beat you in looks, character, and pedigree, and he isn't hung up on some ex. I'm with him because I choose to be. We're both married now, stay out of my life. With that, I opened the car door and walked away under Julian's murder-red stare. Back home, Mason told me Lana had started divorce proceedings. So that's why Julian crawled back, his first love ditched him again, and he suddenly remembered my worth. I gave a bitter laugh, set down my pencil, and handed Mason my new design sketches. He clapped nonstop after one look. See? Men only slow your drafting speed. Curiosity poked me. Had you seen my work before? Absolutely. Mason looked nostalgic. A university's graduate show, that was the first time I saw you. I blinked. I don't remember. He sighed. You were too busy mooning over Julian, chasing him so hard even more HR couldn't poach you. I laughed, half embarrassed. Don't worry, the love-addled brain's been removed. Tomorrow night's gala is mine. I never expected Julian to attend, Lana on his arm in full glam. Mason, don't I look gorgeous? May I have this dance? Mason spun away, smoothly dodging her reaching hand. Rejection didn't faze her. The entire evening she slid in beside him whenever there was an inch of space. Finally, when the brand announced Moore as its new partner, Lana lifted her glass and cooed for the cameras. Congratulations, President Moore, may I have the honor of a toast? Mason couldn't refuse. He clinked. Under the swirl of tuxedos and perfume, the party hit its peak. Julian dragged me onto the terrace and produced a massive pink diamond. Joey, come back to me. These past 2 months I was a fool and I hurt you. Once you left, life turned gray. Don't worry, I signed papers with Lana. In 10 days I'll have the divorce decree, and then are you insane? I snapped. Do I look like some doormat you can summon or dismiss at will? You didn't treasure what you had, now you cry over spilled milk. Well, there's no reset button, broken mirrors don't reunite. Go play house with your first love. Suddenly he lurched forward, arms snaking around my waist, lips aiming for mine. Joey, you're mine. You said you loved me, how can you stop? Crazy much? I slapped him hard. He still cupped my head, stubborn. When he was inches away, I sank my teeth into his chin. Julian yelped and finally let go. I gripped the railing, stomach heaving. Dry retches brought tears to my eyes. Julian stared, eyes bloodshot. You're that disgusted by me? I straightened, every trace of warmth gone. Body filthy, heart filthier, why wouldn't I despise you? Something I said flipped a switch. Julian burst into manic laughter. Think I'm dirty? Guess how pure your precious Mason is. My alarm screamed. What did you do to him? He only smiled, cold and eerie. Dread flooded me. I hiked up my gown and sprinted for the ballroom, door locked. No matter how I pounded or shouted, no one answered. Useless. Even if you get there now, the rice is already cooked. Panic collided with fury. I seized a fire extinguisher and rammed the glass door. Have you lost your mind? Julian lunged to stop me. I yanked the pin and blasted him with white powder. Joey, how could you do this to me for another man? I smashed through, raced inside without looking back. Live or die, you asked for it. I checked every private room, heart in my throat. At the last door I flung it open and found Mason. His left sleeve was soaked crimson, shirt shredded, breath ragged. Sweat-plastered hair clung to his forehead. On the bed lay Lana, a goose-egg lump on her temple, hand still frozen mid-undress. Seeing me, Mason rasped, I didn't touch her, and crumpled. I rushed to him, terrified. Only then did I notice the crystal ashtray shards in his fist, his arm crossed with slashes. I called 911, then the cops. After a bedside vigil, Mason opened his eyes the next morning. Joey, I know. I pressed him back against the pillow. The surveillance footage is already with the police. You protected your integrity. Lana's drug and seduction ploy had enraged him. No matter how pitifully she wept, Mason refused to drop the lawsuit. Julian fared no better. The deal slipped away, and Mason retaliated for that forced kiss. Stock price and quarterly numbers went into free fall, keeping Julian in crisis mode. The next time we met was at a corporate dinner. I sat beside Mason while Julian, face flushed from unending toasts, bowed and scraped for a new project. Still, I stopped him without the slightest effort. Joey, do you have to side with Mason and push me straight into my grave? Outside the restroom, Julian blocked my way. I couldn't tell whether he was drunk or only pretending. The corners of his eyes were flushed crimson, and he looked pitifully aggrieved. I've already divorced Lana. That night I didn't actually do anything to you. Why can't you just let it go? His bandit logic made me laugh out loud. If you're incompetent and can't hire a designer the client approves, how is that my fault? We were together 5 whole years. Are you really unwilling to show me even the tiniest scrap of mercy? The kind of mercy that lets you stand on 2 boats, marry your mistress, and turn my child into a bastard? Julian's throat bobbed, he had nothing left to say. Lana had been released from jail. Because she was pregnant. My Frost, Julian's mother, was over the moon. She ignored the divorce decree and dragged Lana back to the Frost estate to nurture the pregnancy. But by now Lana hated Julian with a passion. She blamed him for signing that marriage certificate with her and robbing her of the perfect moment to chase Mason. She blamed him for drugging her that night, the scheme that landed her behind bars. So she made the estate her personal circus, smashing dishes, hurling documents, setting the kitchen on fire, turning Frost Manor into a smoky battleground. Frost's head ached non-stop. After a stress-induced stroke nearly killed her on the operating table, she finally gave up on the grandchild she'd been dreaming about. She handed Lana $50 million and told her to vanish from Riverdale. Lana took the money, promised to disappear, then bought herself a sports car the next hour. Right at that moment Mason, Julian, and I stepped out of the office tower. Moore had just closed the deal to purchase 30% of Frost shares. Halfway down the lobby stairs Julian spat through clenched teeth, stealing orders, stealing my wife, stealing stock. Mason, you goddamn pirate. Watch your mouth, Mason answered, smile glacial. I'm the guy who signed a marriage certificate with Joey. What kind of ex-husband does that make you? Julian ground his jaw. Don't celebrate too soon. Marriages can be undone, with the right shovel, any wall can be toppled. Mason's face darkened, and the two of them devolved into a childish back and forth that set my head pounding. I quickened my stride toward the exit. Then everything exploded. The glass doors of Frost shattered inward as a black sedan roared straight at me. My eyes went wide, my mind snapped blank. By the time instinct screamed run, the bumper was a yard from my knees. I didn't even have breath to shriek before a brutal shove hurled me sideways. In a blur of black and white the two men flashed in front of me, then vanished. A thunderous crash, the car slammed into concrete and stopped dead. I struggled up, the world painted red. Julian lay in a spreading lake of blood, gaze fixed on the spot where I'd stood. Mason wasn't faring better, thrown clear, he rolled like a rag doll and lay unconscious. Ambulance sirens wailed the entire ride to St. Anne's. Julian's white shirt turned a deeper crimson than any rose. Mason's black suit stayed black, only now it dripped a steady tap-tap of blood. Both were wheeled into ICU. Only one walked out alive. The morning of Julian's funeral Frost collapsed in tears so violent she kept fainting. She ordered her bodyguards to yank Lana from her hospital bed, snap her leg, and force her to kowtow before Julian's coffin. I pushed Mason, still wheelchair-bound, and together we laid our flowers on the fresh marble. Looking at the photo etched in stone, my chest twisted, sour, aching. I suddenly remembered what Julian had said 3 days earlier when he begged me to try again. Joey, if I pay with my life for our child, will you forgive me? I hadn't answered then. I hadn't known how. Now that he'd saved me, the word forgive still wouldn't come. I wanted to tell him, I wanted you alive, to atone. Even if love no longer lived. A life shouldn't be erased over a lunatic like Lana. After they broke and discarded her, Frost dumped Lana at the police station. With the Frost family's special attention, her future behind bars will be anything but gentle. My plan was to honor the contract and divorce Mason once he recovered. But he keeps complaining his legs ache and insisting no one else will suffer through PT with him. When those damp peach blossom eyes lock on mine, the word no evaporates. Let it be, his legs are my fault. 6 months later Mason finally, grudgingly, stands. At noon I cooked every favorite dish of his. Why aren't you eating? He asked. Is this a goodbye meal? I laughed, laid a chicken thigh in his bowl. Stop overthinking. We're celebrating your brand new legs. Really? Scout's honor. Still terrified, he watched me between every mouthful. Seeing him so wound up, I finally confessed, honestly, a contractual marriage isn't bad. We don't hate each other, maybe we could try making it real. Mason's eyes flared bright, the chicken lay forgotten. Tears tinged the corners of his lashes. Hey, why are you crying? I'm just happy. He limped to the safe, pulled out a folder. Joey, I swear I'll have no other woman. If I ever cheat, I leave with nothing. Spreading the pre-drawn agreement, he pressed my thumb to the ink pad. I trust you, I said. But he insisted on rolling my print beneath the clause, his own brand of security. I laughed and let him have his way. 3 years later I gave birth to a daughter. Though Mason morphed into a hopelessly devoted dad, I remained his undisputed first priority. We've never exchanged a single angry word, life felt easy, sunlit. No matter the occasion Mason keeps his wedding band on, maintains crystal clear boundaries with every woman, never flirts. Many status-hungry debutantes still try to burrow into our bed. No matter how hard they swing their shovels, the wall around us never crumbles. Eventually every gold digger academy in Riverdale blacklisted Mason. He wears the badge with pride, bragging his husbandly virtue score is off the charts. He's right, love the ones who are good through and through. Only that kind of love can carry 2 people all the way to gray hair. Thanks for listening to our story. If you liked this video, double tap and share it with friends. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more unforgettable tales. See you next time.